Hey everybody, it's Dr. Rose here. Here is the long promised, hopefully very short video where I want to walk you through the two sample paragraphs that we did not get to due to our internet interruption on Monday afternoon. So if you will bear with me here, I'll work through these two paragraphs and just make a couple points that we would have tried to make together in class. What we're looking at here is a student sample from a similar assignment. It's a different episode of Black Mirror, as you can tell. But what's helpful about that is as you read through, you can tell that the author has done just enough summary that even if we haven't watched the show, we can at least follow their analysis. Clearly, your target audience are people who have watched the show and are expecting you to take them deeper into just two scenes. But a broader audience could also follow along. So you want to try to strike that balance of summary and analysis with a target audience in mind who have watched the show. But enough information that even someone who's just interested in the ideas in your paper but hasn't seen this exact episode could at least follow it along and then maybe go watch the episode themselves. Okay, so the first paragraph here is mostly summary. But the point I wanted to make is that it's not only summary. Notice how the author uses their authorial voice and some key moments in the paragraph to shape the summary that will set up their analysis. The first thing here that I'm highlighting, and hopefully you can see, is the topic sentence. Really use your topic sentence wisely. We get a focus here that it's about digital technologies and authenticity, right? So we kind of know what to look for. The next few sentences are a pretty general summary of the show that would get everyone clued in. But what they want to start doing is getting more specific to their two scenes. First, in this paragraph, we know that they're focusing on explaining to us this concept or theme that's obviously sort of the organizing idea of their paper, authenticity. So a lot of summary, but let me point out two things. Right here in the middle, notice how it's not only summary, but the author is starting to interpret a little bit. They're starting to interpret the plot so that they'll be able to do some analysis. They say, this character is not satisfied with texting, however, and quickly moves to a vocal conversation. This shows that although communication exists in a variety of ways, being able to hear the voice of this new AI computer husband that she has, it feels more personal. That's not necessarily, you have to kind of watch the show closely. And so they're already interpreting the show here. This is not pure summary. There's summary of the show and there's interpretation. And at the end, they sandwich their paragraph with a good topic sentence. The beginning of paragraphs and the end of paragraphs are very important for you to use your voice to say what you want to say to your audience. So make sure you're not in summary mode at those times. Make sure that your audience leaves the paragraph knowing that something has happened for your paper that they can follow along. Notice they return to authenticity, their theme. By doubting its authenticity and thus deeming it of lesser value, her attitude towards the robot becomes more aggressive and strays further from how she would have normally interacted with her partner. It's, again, interpretation. It comes from close attention to the plot. If someone watches, then we would be able to find this aggressive behavior, and we would see how she strays further from her normal behavior. So it comes from the plot, but it's building an idea about how her relationship with this digital technology is, she's finding it difficult to be authentic with it. All right, so I wanted to make that point about the first paragraph. It looks like summary until you look closely. You realize the author is being careful here. They're planning their paragraph, and they're being very intentional about making sure that they're actually organizing an idea around authenticity. Okay, 4 minutes into the video here, just a couple more minutes to talk about the second paragraph. This is a sample paragraph that you will want to have in your paper where you engage with one of the two scenes you pick in a close reading. This is what's going to make sure your paper is based in analysis and not just your opinion, because you're going to be able to say, see what happens here in the show. Here's my interpretation of that. And here's something interesting about how that connects to our life in a social media heavy world. So look at the second paragraph. Again, topic sentence. The emotional disconnect reaches its peak during the cliff scene, where Martha orders Ash to jump, to the robot's confusion. Okay, so emotional disconnect, building from the idea of authenticity, right? And then we get a quote from the episode. Notice the citation. Brooker is the director of the show and the creator, and a timestamp. So you could go find that in the episode. That's the difference between doing page numbers or doing the show. All right. Now, here's what I wanted to point out about this paragraph. While I will suggest that they overuse rhetorical questions, they have 3 of them, and you don't want to use that many rhetorical questions. I think it's one of the better examples that I had of a student doing exploratory argument instead of debate style argument. And the questions is how they're getting themselves there. And I'm totally fine with there being 1 or 2. 3 is probably too many, especially in one paragraph. But what I love about this is they aren't moving right into a debate. They're exploring the idea of authenticity in the show, and they're trying to understand it better. So notice this part. She's asking more of the technology than it can provide. Here in the middle. It is a semblance of a human life, but it is not human. However, where is the line between human and non-human life drawn? Martha herself seems rather confused, as she's still using the pronoun you to refer to it as if it is both her husband and not her husband at the same time. She's essentially saying, you are not you. See how the author is really kind of trying to dig into the quote that they provided and into the scene that they've picked? Martha has partly lost the ability to clearly differentiate between the AI system and the now dead human Ash, but not entirely. The whole point of her anger is that she does somewhere deep down realize that this robot is not and can't be Ash, right? That's not necessarily given to us in the show. Again, so they're interpreting what they found in the show. And notice here at the end, there's still close reading. That quotation. It's not enough, she screams. They've returned. They're staying with, and they're going deeper, and they're thinking in a much more extended way than obviously the average viewer would of this scene. And that's how you get into an argument that might have stakes in an academic community, is being curious, finding something interesting, and digging into it a little deeper, asking extra questions, and thinking about these scenes more deeply. And especially when you put 2 scenes in conversation with each other, it should allow you to develop some ideas that then can be the sort of centerpieces of your paper. And so as we try to practice together, moving from debate style argument to exploratory argument, where you are attempting really to answer questions and better understand a problem or an issue more than win a debate, this is some of the stuff that can be helpful. So try to think about close reading. Try to look at this as not perfect, but a really good sample of student writing, where we get this exploratory type of argumentation. The last sentence, the show suggests a few ways that the AI Ash comes up short. And one scene in particular will help clarify Martha's eventual refusal of the robot. We see them getting ready to bring in their second scene, and they're obviously going to have one more paragraph where the second scene builds upon these things that were brought up in the first scene. So they're putting the 2 scenes into conversation to make an argument about AI technologies and authenticity. Obviously, our themes would be a little different with our episode, but you can see the point. Okay, in my last 30 seconds, I'll just draw your attention back up to page 2. I think I was going through this when our internet went out, so I won't repeat all of it because you can read it. But I think this is really important. This is what I'm talking about here. This is the mindset and the skills that will help you develop an argument that is more of a scholarly, analytical argument as opposed to a debate style argument. And the whole point is your audience. When you write a paper in the university, you're writing for your professor, you're writing for fellow students, and you're writing for people who are committed to better trying to use their skills to better understand the world, whether it's a psychology class or a physics class. Both those disciplines are trying to better understand the world we live in different ways and through different lenses. So when you write in the university and you're given assignments by your professors, unless they indicate otherwise, what they're really looking for isn't for you to sort of prove things that you already think, but they're looking for you to expand your mind and expand your knowledge by approaching their topics with a curious mind and in a way that helps you try to work with others to better understand an issue. So that's why you've picked your themes, and now you get to choose your episodes, your scenes within the episodes. Try to develop this mindset of curiosity and these skills of close reading and analysis, and you'll be on your way. We'll be talking about intros on Friday, and I can take questions on this analysis and how your activity goes for today. And I look forward to hopefully having an uninterrupted time together Friday afternoon. I've gone 1 minute over. I was trying to do this in 10 minutes. If you've put up with all this, I hope it's helpful. And I'll see you in class on Friday.